Welcome back. You're watching NewsX. My name is Vineet Malhotra, and New Delhi has decided to put curbs on palm oil imports from Malaysia. The move comes in retaliation to Malaysia's stand on the Citizenship Amendment Act. MEA, while making its stand on CAA very clear, asked Malaysia to refrain from commenting on internal developments in India. MEA further claimed that the Malaysian PM was factually inaccurate and asked him not to comment without right understanding of the facts. This after Mahathir bin Mohamad questioned the necessity for bringing about CAA. Earlier as well, Kuala Lumpur took the anti-India stand on Kashmir, and the nation also hosts Indian fugitive offender Zakir Naik, who has been booked by the Enforcement Directorate. And we'll talk about this with our guest. Joining me in the studio is Joyita Basu, editor of the Sunday Guardian. We're also joined by Major General Shashi Asthana, defense expert, Dr. Gulrez Sheikh, BJP leader. Gulrez, always nice to have you on my show. In fact, General Asthana, let me start by asking you, Malaysia for last few decades, I remember they used to be friends of ours. In '94, Mahathir, who was also the Prime Minister of Malaysia, was given the Jawaharlal Nehru Award. What has changed since then? Why has he become anti-India? Well, another appendage to that statement would be that last year he also received an award from Pakistan, which is the Nishan-e-Pakistan, which is the highest civilian award that Pakistan gives out.
What has happened is that in the Islamic world, there is a turbulence for leadership. Earlier, there were two groups, that is Saudi Arabia, leading Sunni groups and having bulk of the Islamic countries, and Iran having some of the Islamic countries leading the Shia group. Now, all of a sudden, Turkey and Malaysia, they have started moving Wahhabi way, and they are also now in a race for the leadership. The recent meeting which was held in Malaysia, and Mahathir and Erdogan as well as Iran Prime Minister was also there. Now, at that point of time, the division came out to be quite clear, because Saudi Arabia told Pakistan not to attend, although the meeting was initially convened by them. But one thing is very clear, which they all need to answer, and that is, all of you, if you think that you are the Masihas of Islamists and the Muslim world, then why don't you speak on Uyghurs? Why don't you speak on Xinjiang?
Exactly.
None of them speaks.
Why don't you speak on Pakistan?
Why don't you speak on Pakistan? Why don't you speak on terror? Now they want to start off, they are sheltering Zakir Naik, because Zakir Naik seems to be quite familiar with the videography and can give a lot of speeches on
insinuating videos.
And they also want to start a channel for so-called voice of Islam to be aired in the world. Now, these are all wonky ideas, but notwithstanding that, so long their hypocrisy is very well known to the entire world. They themselves know the hypocrisy, that we don't have the guts to speak about against China when China does the atrocities on Muslims. And that, I think, is one of the biggest examples of the atrocities.
Absolutely.
And I think only Baghdadi used to speak about it. I haven't found very many, except I think one country has spoken against it. That's all. So rest of the Muslim world is quiet. So it's basically their love for Wahhabis, and that is how, and obviously they, because of their love for Wahhabis and because our stand against terrorism, obviously these two lines are not matching.
Absolutely. And Joyita, we should have in fact put this ban on importing palm oil from Malaysia right after the abrogation of Article 370, when Mahathir Mohamad made a huge hue and cry about the situation of Jammu and Kashmir and the fact that we were the ones who were committing atrocities in that particular area of the world, and not even mentioning Pakistan. They're in fact hugging and holding, embracing Pakistan, who is a continuous and incessant violator of human rights.
You see, what was happening initially was that our government was already telling our importers, unofficial communication had gone to them saying that you reduce your ban, and then I think duties were, reduce your import. and then of course duties were also increased, and finally we have gone ahead and imposed a formal ban. And when it comes to Malaysia, you see, and Pakistan, what is actually, as what my co-panelist was saying, what is actually the tussle is for the control of the Islamic Ummah, and it is basically trying an attempt being made to bring out the countries, the Islamic Ummah, from under the control of Saudi Arabia and Organization of Islamic Countries. And now Saudi Arabia, in fact, what happened at that particular December summit was that, you see, Malaysia, Mahathir Mohamad was going to hold that summit. Initially, the invitees were there, and Saudi Arabia's MBS, Mohammed bin Sultan, he called up Mahathir and said that you do not hold that summit. In fact, a specific call was made to Mahathir, and Mahathir refused. In fact, after he refused, MBS, what he did, he put pressure on Imran Khan and got Pakistan out. Because you see, Pakistan has a huge number of, Pakistan may not rank very high among Muslim countries, but in spite of that, what Pakistan and Indonesia, these two countries have very large number of Muslim populations. And what at that time MBS was trying, the Saudi Crown Prince, he was trying to get Pakistan out, and he was trying to get Indonesia out, because those countries have the maximum number of Muslims in these two countries, are the largest Muslim nations in the world. What happened after that? Now Mahathir bin Mohamad, he reacted, and what happened at that particular summit? 3 countries got together, Turkey, Malaysia and Qatar. Because the fight is also between actually Saudi Arabia and Qatar. Qatar is now coming under a lot of pressure from the Western world and from the rest of the world also in terms of Islamic terrorism funding. That funding is happening from Qatar, a lot of it. So you see, there is a tussle going on over there as well between Saudi Arabia and Qatar about who controls the Islamic Ummah. And now Turkey has joined hands, and now it has got Iran's backing. After MBS made that call to Mahathir bin Mohamad, what Mahathir bin Mohamad did was that he called up Iran. He invited Iran. So basically, it's a clear. Now both blocs want Pakistan in there with them. In fact, that is one of the reasons why it is being said that Saudi Arabia has given the go-ahead to Pakistan to host an OIC summit on Kashmir. And similarly, Mahathir bin Mohamad also is not going to criticize Pakistan, because he wants Pakistan in his camp. So that is, the tussle is happening over there.
Gulrez, Malaysia acting in such a way, even after the abrogation of Article 370, they were one of the leaders in criticizing the abrogation of Article 370, and they made a host of statements which did not go down well with the current dispensation. Our policy towards Malaysia has been soft, friendly, but a 94-year-old Mahathir Mohamad, who's perhaps staring down the barrel of mortality, is running a country which is laden with the Indian diaspora. And even in the recent past, the Indian diaspora has come to the rescue of perception management, especially after the abrogation of Article 370 and now the CAA. Do you think something in that direction, in that tangent, should also happen in Malaysia, or do you think that country is too radical, too Islamic for anything of this sort to happen?
No, I don't think that country is too radical or too Islamic, because you turn up the books of history, and in 2009, when he was he was the 4th Prime Minister of Malaysia. Right now, he is 7th Prime Minister of Malaysia. Even in his last innings, he was constantly calling shots against Israel. And even that time, he was wanting to take the leadership of the Islamic world, like the Major Anna was saying, there is a big vacuum in the leadership of Muslim world right now, and Mr. Mahathir Mohamad wants to make himself in history. So he's trying his level hard for that. And he is trying to have news that
Okay, well, there seems to be a problem with Gulrez's audio. We'll try and get that fixed. But General Asthana, coming to you. Gulrez, will get your audio fixed. There seems to be...
So what the issue with Mahathir Mohamad is the same like 2009. That time also he was trying his level best to become the leader of the Muslim world, but unfortunately he lost his prime ministership. Then now again he has tried the same thing again, and now he's trying to have a nuisance elements like Imran Khan and Pakistan in his pocket, which unfortunately for him, MBS is not allowing. But he's trying his level best. But the issue with him is that he's punching above his weight. And you know boxing very well. What happens when somebody punches above the weight?
Punching above his weight or punching above his age?
Both things above the weight and as well as above the age, weight of his country. So he will be knocked out, definitely.
General Asthana, just like Turkey, Mahathir perhaps has ambitions of having a theocracy ruled bloc, the way Saudi Arabia has been doing. But the only reason why they've been able to make such bold statements is the fact that they are flanked by a flagrant Pakistan.
Yes, that is also a case. But Mahathir must understand one thing, that his country is not Iran and his country is also not Turkey, because they are not having any proximity with elements like China, which is hostile to them, or with Russia, or they are not having the size of Turkey or Iran.
So basically, General Asthana, it becomes a necessary evil for them to side with Pakistan and toe their line.
There are two things. Why everyone wants Pakistan in its orbit is,
nuclear assets are there.
One major factor is, which we cannot ignore, that Pakistan is the only Muslim country having a nuclear weapon. That is one. Secondly, Mahathir does not have either the age in his favor nor the economic muscles in his favor. And economic muscles wise, he cannot either compete with Turkey nor can he compete with Saudi Arabia. So, as far as his leadership game is concerned, it's, I think, an over-ambitious game. I don't think he will perhaps stand out as a leader of, in whichever form of Islamic world he is trying to get into. The other reason is that Pakistan is a state which actually has got much more stakes with Saudi Arabia than any of other countries. And therefore, for Pakistan to annoy Saudi Arabia, I think it is very difficult. As far as China is concerned, China is trying to get everybody on road as far as his Belt and Road Initiative is concerned. So all these countries, I think China is interacting with all of them and trying to give whatever goodies he can lure them with. I think they are trying their best on that.
Right. Dr. Awad also joins us on the broadcast. Dr. Awad is a South Asia expert and a senior foreign journalist as well. Dr. Awad, appreciate you joining us and being a part of this show. What do you make of Malaysia's recent ambitions? And, it's okay to be ambitious, but at the same time, when you admonish and rebuke a country's internal matter, a country like India, at the behest of Pakistan, how dangerous a situation can it be? Because Malaysia has to look inward as well. They have to introspect, because for the last 3 quarters, their GDP has slumped. In fact, in the last 4 years, production, export and imports, everything has suffered. Their economy is not a military one. They in fact rely on a lot of tourism. They have a lot of Indian diaspora there as well. What kind of a thin ice, if I may say so, is Malaysia treading on?
Well, I think Malaysia has been for a long years, have been for decades, showing its moderate face, in fact, of being an Islamic country with a heterogeneous society for constitute of Indian and Malay and also the Chinese. So therefore, it continue to retain this kind of diversity and coexistence among the different groups. But of recent years, we noticed, even after Anwar Ibrahim case has started, that there has been lots of upsurge in the the conservative society getting more closer to Saudi Arabia and the Takfiri groups of the jihadists of Saudi Arabia, because they were trying to destabilize the harmony in different factions there inside, different sects. So ever since then, we have seen that Mahathir Mohamad was called back because of the economy, because of the corruption, because of the ex-prime minister. Money have come to him from the different sources of Saudi Arabia and UAE, and now he's seeking the help of this country to come out of the case he has been indicted in. So I think all this came together, and now being an aged prime minister, they are trying to push hard getting into Anwar Ibrahim. Anwar Ibrahim is known for his Islamic background, and that's why they may face lots of challenges in the future, because they tried in the earlier years for us to project Turkey as a moderate Islam and a symbol that most of the Arab country can follow as a democratic Islamic country. But once you mix religion with politics, you really land up in a trouble. And I think Malaysia is heading for more trouble in the future if not they are unable to break up this kind of movement that they have been pushed into it. And I think the Malaysian Prime Minister, if to be honest, he is himself is a very modest. He wanted to promote the good values of the religion and all, but I don't think it's a job of politicians to speak on one color. It has to be the society, it has to be the people, because the religion belongs to the people and the government belongs to the nation. So you don't need to be different to carry this in your ruling in the country. So the economy is being bad, most of the Asian countries facing, but I think it is still they're faring good among the other ASEAN tigers. You remember the crisis in the ASEAN had fall, and they maintain and retain their strength without liquidating their currency. And I think it is a recession, but I would say that yes, there are signs of the economy is being the growth is being decreasing, and I think the government is trying to face the challenges by it's trying to establish Malaysia as a strong nation, and also cutting all the debt with the debt trap with China under his leadership. So it's too early for me to comment whether this economy will be upsurging, but most of the experts believe that it is deteriorating.
All right, it is deteriorating, but Joyita, it also brings us to the question that what does Malaysia have to gain from Pakistan, apart from the fact that they're nuclear? Pakistan is a leech and a parasite.
No, first I think what we are not talking about here is, you see, we have to see, India has to see whether we can separate one man's personal drive towards an Islamic state, or search to become one of the leaders of the Islamic Ummah, whether we can separate it from that country's policy, foreign policy towards the non-Islamic world, especially India, in the long term, because Mahathir's days are numbered. He will have to give up power to...
We've been saying that for a long time.
No, not that. You see, according to the coalition, because you see, Mahathir bin Mohamad was made Prime Minister because that coalition agreed to make him Prime Minister on the condition that he will have to hand over power to Anwar Ibrahim. Now, there is some talk that, this Anwar Ibrahim, the handing of power was supposed to happen sometime in May 2020. Now, that has not happened, and there is some. So, basically, by the end of this year, Mahathir bin Mohamad may become history. Okay, because otherwise there will be turmoil, and if Anwar Ibrahim comes back. So there is a chance that Anwar Ibrahim is coming back as Prime Minister in less than a year. So instead of Mahathir bin Mohamad, India will have to look primarily towards Anwar Ibrahim about how he handles this matter. Whether he also takes this kind of a perilous path that Mahathir bin Mohamad is pushing Malaysia towards. And the thing is, you see, here I see it, perhaps what is going on here is that, I mean, this man's, I've heard a son-in-law is Pakistani. Okay, one of his, I mean, that is what is said, one of his sons-in-law is a Pakistani.
Or Pakistan is the son-in-law.
Yeah, I think both you can say, okay. So this is perhaps a personal drive, and perhaps influenced by family reasons and all, but it seems that the personality and the personal seem to be affecting policy and impacting policy.
Absolutely. And Pramit Pal Chaudhary, Foreign Affairs expert, also joins me on the program. Pramit, thank you for being here. Appreciate you joining the debate. We're talking about Malaysia and their newfound problem with India. They had a huge problem when Kashmir was liberated, Article 370 was imposed. I beg your pardon, Article 370 was in fact abrogated, and now the Citizenship Amendment Act, Malaysia has a problem with that as well. You know, it draws us to a very familiar conclusion, or a very familiar echo, which also comes from across the border from a country we know as Pakistan.
Hello?
All right, there seems to be a problem with his audio. Pramit, can you hear me?
Okay. Okay, I can hear you.
All right,
Yes,
Pramit, we are talking about Malaysia. We're talking about Malaysia and how very surreptitiously and insidiously
Yeah.
they are towing the same line as Pakistan. They have also tried to create a parallel bloc of Islamic countries, which does not affect India in any which ways, because the OIC is an organization where India has a strong reputation, if I may use the word. What do you think Malaysia is trying to do, and how successful will they be in trying to toe the same line as Pakistan?
First, keep in mind that this is nothing new as far as Mahathir is concerned. Over the past 15 years, he has had a record of attacking India on its Kashmir policies. He has also attacked Israel. He has attacked many other countries in this attempt to position himself as some sort of a defender of the pan-Islamic cause. Mahathir, to be fair, has never gone beyond rhetoric. He has never imposed sanctions. He has never given money or weapons or anything to any insurgency. And he largely uses it for his own internal political purposes and to maintain a certain position within the Malaysian community and to keep other Islamic groups within Malaysia from outflanking him. He also uses, however, India in particular because he happens to be partly of Tamil origin himself. And so he tries to, if you wish, be more Malay than his Malay supporters to disguise or to keep hidden the fact that he has, I think, one of his grandparents is a Tamil. So he's done this for a very long time. I think the real difference right now is partly India's attitudes towards this, which is namely that in the past, India would listen to Mahathir, privately issue a complaint through diplomatic channels and say, look, it's not appreciated. And Mahathir would just shrug and say, well, it doesn't really matter. Now, I think with the present government and generally in the present mood in India, the view is that if you are going to score points politically at home using India, there will be a price to pay. It may not be a major price, but something you will have a cost. So Turkey played this game. We canceled $2.5 billion worth of shipbuilding contracts with them. We are now reimposing sanctions or non-tariff barriers, if you wish, on Malaysian refined palm oil because it is a huge source of exports for Malaysia and employment in that country. So the game is not so much as that we're expecting a sharp deterioration in relationship, but we're making it clear. You may want to score points, but it's not going to go without a cost.
Okay.
And so in Mahathir's also attempt, as you mentioned, to take this a little further with his little Islamic summit, as you know, India has already diplomatically torpedoed at least a part of that. But again, it's going to be done, it's going to cost Malaysia in some certain way. Nothing fatal to the relationship, but it's going to be very clear to Mahathir that we're not going to be just lying passive while he plays these games with us.
Okay, General Asthana, according to Pramit, it is something internal. Mahathir does not mean any harm. He's just, in fact, trying to address the local politics and perhaps garner support internally inside of Malaysia. It will never have any bearing on, India-Malaysia relationship whatsoever. But obviously, the MEA doesn't feel that way.
Yeah, no, we can't take it lying down for the reason because such criticism, our policy is very clear that we don't criticize anybody's internal affairs, and therefore, if somebody else criticizes our internal affairs, obviously, we will not take it kindly.
They need to be punished.
Yeah, he needs to be punished. And whatever little economic muscles we have, we are trying to perhaps exploit that. Also, in addition to what has been done, I would say that any advisory to the tourists also will affect Malaysia quite badly, because Malaysia does earn a fair amount of money from India through tourism. The third thing which I want to flag is, and that is in the Organization of Islamic Countries as well as in the other Islamic forums. You see, India is number 2 as far as Muslim population is concerned. Next 10 years, perhaps we will be the largest Muslim populated country in the world. The Muslim community, whether it is OIC or whether it is any other grouping which comes, cannot ignore India as a and shall we say 25 to 30% Muslims of the entire world
are in India.
If they exist in India at that point of time. I am taking about 20-30 figures. So we will have to also take a stake to say that OIC, we have been welcomed once. We were almost quite close to getting an observer's status if you could have tried. And we will have to continue diplomatic efforts to tell the Islamic world that we also have a tremendous amount of Muslims with us, and they also live in harmony. And the model which Mahathir is trying to sell, his model perhaps may be more going towards Wahhabi way, and ours is not. So we have a better model to project to the entire world community.
Okay, Joyita, last few seconds.
Yeah, you see, I mean, while saying that, okay, Mahathir bin Mohamad is more or less, you know, there's no harm as such to India. But the fact of the matter is that in Malaysia, there's a huge Indian diaspora. And the more strident the rhetoric gets of the leadership over there, there is a possibility that a direct fallout may happen on the population, because you do not know how the radical and the radicalized population on the Wahhabi fringe will take that as, they can take that as a go ahead, as a signal to go and, you know, to somehow hurt the Indian diaspora over there. So we have to be very careful. So whatever rhetoric Mahathir bin Mohamad may be using, I mean, we cannot take it as lightly.
Okay. All right. In fact, Mohammad Mahathir, in fact, like I earlier on also mentioned, could be treading on thin ice, or it could just be a matter of internal politics, which he's trying to assuage. He's 94 years of age, and I reckon that time is of the essence for him. We'll take a short break. Be right back.